Hi, I'm Mike Seymour from fxguide.com for Wired, looking at the tech of making apes act in Dawn of Planet of the Apes. In this new Apes film, Weta Digital has provided director Matt Reeves with an action blockbuster with real heart, incredibly coming from the fully digital lead ape actors. Andy Serkis delivers a near Shakespearean performance as Caesar, as does fellow motion capture artist Toby Cabell as Koba. On screen, precisely rendered ape characters show stunning acting performances, nuanced and layered in ways not seen before. There's no better example of this than the Koba scene where he discovers the survivor's armory. In a comically tragic moment, Koba plays the fool to disarm the humans and make his escape. So what does it take to have an acting performance like this make its way to the screen? As with everything, of course, it starts with the script, which created this subtle on-screen moment. The script was then thoughtfully interpreted by Toby's acting choices on set, while being filmed by both the main unit in stereo and motion capture with simultaneous various reference cameras around the set. These cameras included a single high-speed camera on a helmet mount for the exact facial timing and tracking of the lead actors. The Weta team pioneered this use of on-location motion capture volumes rather than just filming motion capture as second unit on a soundstage. The difficulty of the next step is translating Toby's acting choices to the exact anatomy of an ape. For some shots, this is most evident in the differences of, say, arm or limb length, compensated for in this pickup shot with Toby wearing an arm extension. But when it comes to the facial performances, the job becomes painstakingly complex. Humans and apes just have different muscles. On the neck, for example, do the animators match Toby's tightening of his neck muscles with incorrectly placed muscles on Koba, or do they remain faithful to the primate's actual muscle anatomy and then tense different muscles that maybe don't read with exactly the same expression as Toby's original performance? Nowhere is this more evident than in the mouths of the humans and apes, which is particularly complicated if the key to the entire scene is Koba blowing a raspberry. The team studied Toby's performance and then did special high-speed tests to understand the exact anatomy of someone blowing a raspberry. They then did flesh simulations to explore this on a digital Koba, but with the lip and snout changes between apes and humans, mapping the performance exactly was nearly impossible. At this point in the story, the raspberry needs to be funny, but not silly. More importantly, the audience needs to know that the digital Koba is acting as a fool, not being a fool. The audience can't be confused, or this poignant character moment will be completely lost. This layered performance of having Koba be foolish is all the more tragic given the horrendous cruelty that Koba had to suffer at the hands of humans when he was growing up. That Koba needs to denigrate himself to survive, and that the audience can see that in a single close-up shot, makes this powerful writing, interpreted by a great actor, and then realised by a brilliant team of digital artists, and all the more remarkable. Well, don't forget to subscribe for more behind-the-scenes action. I'm Mike Seymour for Wired.
Yeah, it's good, huh? Yeah. Good.
Hey. Okay, all right.
Easy.
Easy.
All right.
CGI is now commonplace in the world of movies. Everything from characters and buildings to skies and entire cityscapes can be created with computer-generated imagery. It's done for a variety of reasons, sometimes simply because it looks better, other times because it's cost-effective, and for a number of other reasons too. Without the CGI applied, any movie that utilizes it looks very different, but certain movies look totally unrecognizable, and that's what this video is going to take a look at. So sit back, enjoy it, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to see more highly enjoyable videos in the future. Here are 10 movies that look nothing like you'd expect before CGI. Jurassic World. Now, it goes without saying that real dinosaurs weren't used in 2015's Jurassic World. You know, given that they've been extinct for 65 million years. But how some of the movie looked before CGI was applied may still surprise you. In many scenes, the actors filming scenes involving dinos had to pretend something was there. In others, such as some involving velociraptors, they actually had actors with motion sensors on them as a point of reference. Moreover, some of the scenery in the movie was nowhere near as vivid or spectacular as it was prior to CGI being applied to it. Gravity. You're probably already aware that 2013's Gravity wasn't filmed in space. If you're not aware of that, it wasn't. The majority of the scenes in space were filmed in plain white rooms, and the space backgrounds were applied later using CGI. But that's not all that was CGI. The equipment that the astronauts were using wasn't really there, even the small stuff. When the actors appeared to be turning knobs, pressing buttons, or holding onto handles, they were actually just motioning in thin air. Yep, even the gadgets they were using were all computer-generated. No! Life of Pi. 2012's The Life of Pi sees the titular Pi Patel spending most of the movie in a boat, at sea, accompanied by a Bengal tiger named Richard Parker. It may come as a surprise to you, therefore, to learn that none of the movie was filmed at sea, and no real tigers were used in the filming of the movie. The boat was on water, but it was in a studio surrounded by green screens, and the tiger was completely CGI. In most instances, there was nothing present to represent the tiger, although for the scenes in which Pi physically interacted with it, such as when it was sleeping across his lap, a blue doll was used. The Wolf of Wall Street. 2013's The Wolf of Wall Street is one of the last movies you'd ever think required CGI. It's not as if it was a fantasy or a sci-fi movie that was full of weird creatures or spectacular alien landscapes, but the fact is, it was actually teeming with CGI. The foreign locations the main characters visited, such as Monaco, were created using green screens, whilst even the areas surrounding the beach houses they partied in were massively enhanced by CGI. No wonder the movie's budget was so inexplicably high.
The real question is this: was all this legal?
Captain America: Civil War. The Marvel Cinematic Universe's flagship 2016 offering, Captain America: Civil War, heavily utilized green screens for locations that you might not think required it, such as the airport scene for the epic battle between Team Captain America and Team Iron Man. One scene in particular that looked very different without CGI was that one in which Captain America stops the helicopter with his bare hands. Not only is the entire surrounding scenery produced via CGI, it's also filmed at near ground level in a studio, and not on a rooftop at all. Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. Another superhero movie that is obviously absolutely littered with CGI is 2016's Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. A lot of the backdrops, such as those in Metropolis, were created using a green screen, but there was a lot more to the CGI than that. For example, when Batman was wearing his powered armor to fight against Superman, a huge chunk of that fight was Henry Cavill acting alongside a stuntman with sensors all over his body. There was no actual physical prop armor like Robert Downey Jr. sometimes wears as Iron Man, for example. Godzilla. Like so many other characters and creatures on this list, it goes without saying that 2014's Godzilla was created using CGI. However, titular monster aside, there was a lot more computer-generated imagery in the movie that might actually surprise you. For example, in the scenes where the army are on the coast attempting to attack the monsters, not only are there no monsters, there isn't actually a coast either. It's just a green screen. The sea, the battleships, the clouds, the monsters, and everything else in front of the soldiers isn't really there. Avatar. 2009's Avatar is the highest-grossing movie of all time, so you're probably familiar with it. You'll know it's based on the planet of Pandora, and that the alien species of the Na'vi are the movie's main stars. And you'll obviously know that it's all fictional, but that still might not prepare you for what the movie looked like without CGI. The spectacular scenery on Pandora probably made you think the movie was at least filmed in a jungle, but it wasn't. It was actually filmed in a very plain, boring studio, with actors running around wearing tight-fitting, customized helmets that had a carbon fiber boom with a camera on the front for facial recognition purposes. Suicide Squad. Although there were obviously some very unrealistic and outright fantasy elements to 2016's Suicide Squad movie, it's actually fairly grounded in comparison to many of the more out-there superhero offerings, especially in relation to its setting, so it may shock you to discover that there was a lot of CGI in the movie. Take the scenes in which Harley Quinn falls from the helicopter, for example. It's actually just Margot Robbie standing upright with a whirring fan and a green screen behind her. There wasn't any falling of any kind involved. The Avengers. In 2012's The Avengers, the titular superhero team took on an army of aliens in New York City. It will come as absolutely no surprise to you to learn that the aliens in the movie weren't real. But the majority of the battle wasn't even filmed in New York. The main actors could only be in the Big Apple together for a couple of days, so a majority of the battle scenes in New York were actually filmed in New Mexico, using a green screen. So when you see Captain America, Thor, and company fighting an alien in NYC, you're actually watching them taking swings at actors with sensors on them in New Mexico. Thanks for watching our video about 10 movies that look nothing like you'd expect before CGI. Do you know of any other movies that look very strange without CGI? Have your say in the comment section below. And be sure to subscribe to our channel for more great videos like this one. CGI is now commonplace in the world of movies. Everything from characters and buildings to skies and entire cityscapes can be created with computer-generated imagery. It's done for a
Ada yang kata pada waktu sukar kekuatan datangnya tiba. Namun ia tidak datang bergolek begitu saja.
Ami, mana Temilo, Mak?
Kuat suara, itu pun kekuatan juga. Jadi, apakah tiang kekuatan kita? Ia muncul dalam pelbagai rupa. Sorakan yang bergema, persahabatan yang berharga. Sebagai rezeki yang diterima. Atau sokongan yang tidak disangka. Ia juga datang tanpa diduga pada saat kita berduka. Ia datang membawa harapan, memberi tenaga agar perjuangan diteruskan. Bagaikan suara yang membisik, kita boleh lakukan. Dalam tenaga untuk melangkah jauh, adanya kekuatan untuk atasi segala cabaran. Milo meraihkan 64 tahun semangat takkan gentar bersama Malaysia.